Today we're going to talk about finance, accounting, and FP&A goals and how you set them. So we're going to go through why we set our goals, and then we're going to actually get into the meat of it, which is what your goals should look like. Then I want to give you some context on why this should be a really easy process, and then we'll just revisit SMART goals and the basics around how you set good goals. Okay, so why do we set goals? So one of the things it does is it helps define what we will work on. If you don't have a set of goals, it's easy to kind of wander throughout the year, not be sure what big projects you're going to work on or what you really need to accomplish. So it helps give you guide rails for what you should be working on throughout the year. Most companies have a way of measuring your performance. So whether that's to decide how much bonus you get, or it might be to decide what your raise is, or it might be to decide who gets promotion opportunities. But they need to measure you against something, and your personal goals is one way to do that. And then growth. Companies want to develop talent. They want you to get promoted. They want you to advance your career. It's usually cheaper for them to develop talent than it is for them to go hire talent from the outside. So it ensures your growth or helps focus your growth. Okay, so now the meat of it. What should your goals look like? Now, the first thing you want to think about is what your goals should reflect. And it should ultimately reflect what the overall finance organization of your company or your division is trying to do, or what your CFO is going to do. If your CFO has his list of priorities and there's a focus on automation or analytics, then you should think about how that directly applies to your role. Is there a place within your job that you can apply some better analytics? If the focus is on something like cost and trying to reduce cost, what can you do within your role to focus on cost? Could you give your operating team better visibility to data at the product level, or could you get more into trends on the different cost buckets that you have within your organization? Those are the things that you should be thinking of. Similarly, overall business, division, segment, or shop goals. So depending on where you work, this could have different effects, but it's the same type of thing as the bullet above. If the company has a major initiative on productivity, could you help develop a tracker to track productivity better? Or could you figure out a way to verify that completed projects actually are yielding a result? If the focus is on sales growth or margin accretion, what type of analytics or reports could you develop to provide to the commercial team to help support them on that? Maybe you could proactively flag customers that are making lower margin, and that could be one of your goals. Or you might find a customer that you need to take price actions on because it's a smaller customer and they don't give you as much work and they're kind of a pain. Figuring out a way to identify those might be one of your goals. Next is very specific to you and your boss. So how can you make your job better? Ultimately, you want to leave your job better than when you found it. So can you automate some of the tasks or reduce the transactional work in your role? Is there a reporting that you can get done in 3 days instead of 2 days? Is there a specific project that might make your boss's job easier? Where it's something that your boss, he or she, is always complaining about, an element that's a pain. Can you make that easier? You could also do things like document your work, make SOPs. You could volunteer to reach beyond your job and across your peers to consolidate so that you have a standard way or standard process of doing a certain thing within the organization, which also shows that you can do more than just your job, but you can show some of that leadership reaching across the rest of the business. Then your personal development. So what do you need to work on yourself? Is it communication skills? Is it your overall FP&A acumen? Or is it just a better knowledge of debits and credits? Do you need to learn the operations of the business? Do you need to add a new skill like Python or Power BI or Alteryx or Tableau? What could you do to help improve your ability to do your job? The other thing I'll say is this should be easy. You really should be having such a long list of goals that you have to pick from. It shouldn't be easy. It shouldn't be hard to come up with a list. It should be hard to narrow it down. So if you are really plugged in and you know what's going on, you're talking to your boss, you're talking to your peers, you're asking to understand what the organization's goals are. You've got whoever you support, whether it's the sales team or the ops team, you're working with them closely. You should have a very long list of things that you are ready to go after, and you should have to just narrow it down, like I said. And if you don't have that, you need to think about how engaged you really are. If this would tell me, if you can't come up with stuff, that you're just kind of sitting at your desk, you're not very engaged with the folks you support, you're not very engaged with your boss, and it's kind of a learned helplessness if you say, well, they don't bring me in. No, this is something you have to go out and do. You have to push for this. You have to be proactive. People aren't necessarily going to come to you and invite you in. You have to kind of go out there and create those relationships. And frankly, what I've found over time is the people who are more engaged enjoy it more. They create closer relationships, they get to do more interesting things, and it's really worthwhile to make sure that you are engaged. So goal basics, most people have been taught this over time, whether it's in high school or college, university, or in your job in some sort of training. But you want to set SMART goals, and that's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. And this applies to your goals for FP&A as well, or FP&A or finance or accounting as well. So it'll be things like, I want to reduce the time it takes to do our CapEx reporting from 2 days to 1 day by the end of May. Right? It's specific, assuming it's relevant to you. It seems like it's something that's achievable. You should probably have some idea of how you're going to do it, and it's time-based. I'll reduce our quarter close process by 1 day by the end of the year. I will improve our cash forecasting accuracy so within 5% of our budget each month. Those are SMART goals. They're specific. And even when you get into some stuff like personal development, if you're going to say you're going to improve your communication, you should say, I'm going to ask folks to rate my communication at the beginning of the year, or my boss to rate it at the beginning of the year on a scale of 1 to 10, and then at the end of the year. And you should be specific that you're going to take this course, or you're going to seek out feedback once a month. Be specific with what it is that you're going to do. Now that's it. Setting your goals, again, shouldn't be an extremely difficult task. If you're engaged, if you're not engaged, this could be a good wake-up call to say, wow, I really need to get closer to what's going on so that this is an easier process, and just so that I'm a better employee, and I can get promoted, I can get raises, and I'm on the radar for all the good things that could come. So, well, that's it for us. Remember to subscribe and like the video. And if you have questions, leave them below and we'll try to answer them. And be sure to check out our other videos, and we'll be back soon with more content.